I eat vegetables all the time. I make my own salad dressings. I get good cardio. I do high intensity interval training. I ride my mountain bike. I am out there having a fantastic life because there's no other option for me. This is what I want. I want hot sex till the day I die.
What's up, bitches? That was Susan Bratton that you just were listening to, and she is a sex expert, an expert of sex. Who wouldn't want to be that? And she teaches us actionable steps for us to be better at it and why it's important, and we look into all that shit, and it is wonderful. She is great. So just shut your mouth for a little bit and listen, and you will learn things like how to get women to want you more, where to find the G-spot if it so does exist, and other spots, and why sex decreases throughout a relationship and how we can stop that shit. Who wants that? Nobody. Nobody wants that. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, me and Susan Bratton.
Okay, the geniuses will see us now.
I'm a pro.
He's very unprofessional.
Very unprofessional.
These are our newly arrived surgeons, Doctors Trowbridge and Greenbaum.
Doctor?
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 We're not doctors.
Are you sure they can handle this?
Oh, we can handle it. We're professionals.
You'll forgive us if we're not instilled with confidence.
Potentially unprofessional pieces of content.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Unprofessional. We are anonymous doctors who speak unfiltered on science and medicine. And as a society, with science and medicine, we've accomplished some pretty amazing things. I think we can all agree on that. But it feels like we haven't rounded out the corners, per se. We're missing like a connection and sexual yin to the, productive and scientific yang. And one of the champions of this topic of sexuality and intimacy is with us today. And I'm very excited to be talking to her. And that is Susan Bratton. So, Susan, welcome to Unprofessional.
Thanks, Trevor. It's funny. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm professional.
Not here, you're not. But one thing I do appreciate about you is that you don't throw in like fancy or scientific words on top of the things that, are just like fluff. And you use it only when it actually applies to the things you're talking about. You're like talking about cavernosum and all these parts of the penis and, all these other things, which you actually have a better understanding of the anatomy than I do. But it's just a big relief to hear that. So the scientific, medical, and unprofessional community thanks you for that.
I am a genital anatomy nerd. I love to know everything about it. It's funny, I follow a bunch of sex med doctors on Twitter, and one of them posted, "Ooh, I'm going to be posting some really beautiful pictures of the clitoral nerves," and I'm like, "Woo! Make sure I don't miss that post. I want to see the clitoral nerves."
Well, your passion definitely comes out.
You can learn so much about your desire and arousal response patterns based on anatomy. I mean, one of the things that I love to say is that men have some distinct sexual competitive advantages.
Okay.
And they're really because of being testosterone dominant instead of estrogen dominant. So they're horny all the time, generally when they're healthy, and they have fabulous hemodynamics. I mean, the dick gets filled up with blood impressively fast, even though, and women have as much erectile tissue as men, but ours is so slow to get engorged, so guys are ready to go. So one guy emailed me recently and he said, "I tried that sex technique and oh my God, she had the best orgasms ever." And I was like, "Well, which sex technique?" I've literally written hundreds of them. And he said, "The one where you told me to slow down." And I was like, "That's not an actual technique.
Yeah.
That's just
general
good advice."
Yeah.
Just general advice. But it was funny because, men are all ready to go. And I always say to guys, just turn around and come back and get us. One of the things my husband and I, we learned that very early on. He was always ready for sex, and I was only ready for sex maybe in my 5-day ovulatory window. And yet every time I would have sex with him, when I would do it, I'd be like, this is great. Why don't we have more sex? And so then he learned how to, we call ourselves #Team Sweetie. We're on the same team against our biology.
Right.
Like, it's us against our biology and we're going to win. And
there's a few really good points there, honestly. One of them is that, look, we're all in this together. I think so many guys, probably girls too, but look at it as like, look, we got to like almost beat the woman, like we have to outthink her or do this, but it is really you against each other's biology, and like you want this to work. You both want to be in a good relationship or a good sexual relationship or whatever, and I think it really helps to have the mindset of, look, we're working at this together against that. So
huge amounts of satisfaction. I love it when my sex life is going so well. As soon as I'm done, I'm thinking about the next time I can have sex, and that's how men are generally. But women are not so much. So I know things are going well and I'm getting what I need when I'm already like, I just said to my husband today, I bought this double wide chaise lounge for our back deck. And our back deck is super private and super sunny. And it's the last day of March here. And the sun is coming and it's nice and warm in the afternoon. And just today I said to him, it is time to drag that new cushion out and throw that thing down on that double wide chaise, and I would love you to oral pleasure me while I'm just lying there in the sunshine getting my vitamin D. So I'm like already thinking sexy things I want to do. I actually have a bucket list on my phone, and every time I think of something I want to do, I stick it on there so I don't forget.
That's a good idea. I do the same thing with movies and books and stuff, and then you never know when you're going to need it, and you pull it out. Yeah, you could easily do that with sexual things too.
Sexy times.
That's amazing. A couple things that I wanted to bring up from your points earlier was, one, the anatomy point, which was great because we learned about in medical school like how the sexual characteristics come about in men versus women, but everything starts from the same thing, right? It's all from the zygote, and then it goes from there. And the actual anatomy of the penis and the scrotum and all of that, it's the same thing but formed in a different way for women. So
I like to say innies and outies.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. It's vagina is just an innie penis. It exactly is. Like you could trace where the male penis would be on the vagina, and that's like where it would have been on the outside. It's interesting. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's called homologous tissue.
Yeah, exactly. When I was around 22 years old, I remember being pretty confused about relationships and sex and things like that. And I didn't quite get how it would work. And I remember reading an article about it. I was just sick of it. I'm like, I have to find some information on this because, my dad, no offense to him, he just doesn't know enough. There was 3 things that really blew my mind just from reading this like dumb little article or whatever I found. And one of them was, sex and relationships are supposed to be easy and one of the most natural things ever, because that's literally how we've made each other since the beginning of time. And the other 2 is that women like sex as much as men. And I was like, what? There's no way. And then the third was just learning some basics on like what women desire, because I just had, there's no sexual education for that. We just aren't taught that kind of a thing. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that I spend most of my time just explaining the opposite sex to each other. And, our parents, our schools, our churches, they're not really the right venue for sexual information. I mean, mostly our sex education is abstinence and fear-based. And we are not given any techniques or what have you. So, luckily there's a place in the world for people like Susan Bratton to teach people how to transform having sex into making love. And I often say that people can procreate and figure that out. They can figure out tab A into slot B, let's make a baby, but not really how to make love. And then we have pornography, which is not how to make love. Pornography is for males to masturbate to. And we have movies, which are just the dumbest, stupidest sex you could ever see. So horrible examples of sex. So there are not a lot of places to go, and our media does not. I mean, my Instagram account got shut down.
Really?
Like 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm still hoping it'll get reinstated. I spent years cultivating my following.
Wow.
And in a single heartbeat, one little thing I posted that someone didn't like, and down it went. So there are no safe platforms of publishers because there's no body of people who is going to distinguish between my heart-connected, passionate lovemaking technique and someone else's pornography.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's like it's all sex
Yeah.
is bad. So we are at a disadvantage, and I'll tell you that one of the biggest boons to my ability to help more people has been being on podcasts, because you can have frank discussions on podcasts. It's one of the safest bastions for communicating important information. So I do like to explain how to make love to a woman versus how to make love to a man. I like to explain to men what dominating her and being sexually, having masculine sexual leadership is, and ravishing her is, not doing anything that's negative or will hurt her, or is, you know, the things that you see in pornography. I like to teach women how to take control in the bedroom and lead and allow their partner to receive. I like to teach men how to receive and get out of their head and just experience pleasure. I like to teach people that there are 20 kinds of orgasms the human body can have, and that all of us, no matter whether we're an XX or an XY chromosome human being, and whatever our gender expression is, that we can all have all 20 kinds of orgasms. The only difference between the male and female body is that the female has the urethral sponge, which is her G spot. It's not a spot, poorly named. And he has a prostate or P spot, and his penis is an outie, and all the erectile tissue in his penis, including the buried part of his penis, which is about 50% of the erectile tissue, goes inside his body. That whole like bananas worth of fruit, if you will, is completely wrapped around her vaginal canal. She has, it's not the tip of the clitoris is as important as getting the entire vulvar system full of erectile tissue, full of blood. Blood flow is really what people need. And then when they get older and they don't have as much nitric oxide production, and they use antibacterial mouthwash and they take proton pump inhibitors and ruin their body to produce the nitric oxide, and they wonder why sex doesn't feel as good. They've got delayed ejaculation, the orgasmic intensity has declined. You know, it's like, it's just so interesting that when you help people understand how our sexual operating system works, what its currency is that it runs on, which is blood flow, vascularization, and how important that is for actual pleasure, and why he needs to help her get up the arousal ladder so she can meet him and then often surpass him with her orgasmic expression. You know, these are just like fundamental things that it's super helpful for people to hear, like, oh, no wonder my husband's always horny and he always feels like I'm rejecting him for sex. You know?
It's extremely important to understand those like foundational things, and it's too bad that it gets all painted with the same brush, and then it can all be, you know, whether it's porn or very helpful foundational sexual advice, be pushed aside, and it obviously is not helping the conversation.
But you're helping, because I'm here today.
Exactly. We're doing our best.
We're doing it, Dr. Trevor.
And one thing I love that you said, and it had to do with sex and intimacy and connection feeling good. And you were talking about it releasing like oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, you know, the good feeling chemicals, and how if someone was regularly made love to, maybe they wouldn't need those antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications if they were just you know, being held regularly, or, you know, making love regularly. And I just thought that was a very good point. And I think it could be a major shift in like mental health if we were to just normalize talking about sex a little more. And it sounds so cliche to say that, but it really is pushed aside too much. What's something we can universally tell people who listen to this podcast? Let's start with men. You wish that they did this more.
Slowing down, giving her full body touch. I always use my Bullseye touch technique. Bullseye touch technique is, if you imagine a bullseye with the rings, the outside ring, the middle ring, and then the bullseye in the center. The masculine, because he's testosterone dominant, he's full speed ahead, he's ready to go, he's horny every day, he's already turned on, he's got an erection, and he's just ready to have sex. And he wants to go straight for her crotch. And that's not what she needs. What she needs is her hair stroked and to be held and her feet rubbed and her back rubbed, and she needs a kiss. She needs to be kissed, and she needs her breasts fondled. She needs her nipples played with before you even touch. I'll call it her yoni, Y-O-N-I. That's a tantric lovemaking word for the female pleasure system. And the homologous name is the lingam for his penis. And when you touch her yoni, not just going right for the tip of the clitoris, but understanding that what's behind that tip is a shaft. Her penis is actually there. It's actually not the inside of her vagina is the same as his penis. She actually has a little mini, smaller penis, which can grow larger over time as it's stimulated and stroked and played with. So she can get a clitoral erection. And that clitoral erection has arms, little crura, they're called, that go in and up and back toward the pubic bone. And then she has clitoral legs that drop and hang down like little punching bags that are actually located underneath the outer labia on each side where the pubic hair is. And they like to be kneaded and played with. And she likes her groin touched and her mons above where the top of the pubic hair is played with. And she likes her legs stroked, her thighs stroked, her belly stroked, her little sweet cheeks stroked. And she has these beautiful inner labia, which are actually just the forward-facing part of her clitoral structure. They attach right up into the clitoris, and they are as orgasmic as the clitoris itself because they have so many sensitive nerve endings. They're the beautiful little lips that embrace your penis as a man. And they love to be stroked and licked and touched and pleasured. So does the hood of the clitoris, which is part of those labia. It's not just about that tip. It's about all that tissue and the opening to the vagina, which is called the vestibule. The opening where you can see the vagina, that's called the vestibule. And it has, that's where the G spot actually presents on the outer face of the vestibule, where the pee-pee comes out and her ejaculate comes out. There's spongy tissue around there. So you've got the clitoral tip and the hood, then you've got that nice smooth tissue inside the vestibule. You've got that outer G-spot area. You've got the opening to the vagina. The vagina itself is a little opening called the introital sphincter, which is a round muscle that loves delicate teasing. It doesn't want to be thrust into. It doesn't want to be pushed open. It wants to be coaxed to pull you in. And so allowing her to want you so much that she sips your penis in instead of you just probing her. I think that's really an important piece. And then where the labia come down at the bottom, that's called the fourchette. It's marvelously activated tissue. And then inside the vagina, instead of thinking about the vagina as just a sheath for a penis, if you begin to think about your penis as a heart tongue instead of a piston, when you are in there and you've connected your heart to your dick and you're gently licking the entire inside of her vagina, the sides where the nerves run down her legs and the top where the G-spot presents at the entrance to the vagina, and the bottom, where the perineal sponge is located between the bottom of the vagina and the rectum. Her vulva has 3 erectile tissue systems completely wrapping that vaginal opening. And so really thinking about all of the ways that you can pleasure that tissue with fingers, with hands, with toys, with penis, with tongue, and activating it, creating new neural pathways of pleasure to her brain, bringing that blood flow in, getting it all plumped up. So she's got this juicy, plump vulva. Now think about all the surface area on that beautiful peach. Every time you touch it and stroke it, it's getting massively more amounts of pleasure signals to it. And then when you penetrate her with your heart tongue, and you're thinking about your penis as being like a pool cue, you can aim it at different places. It's not just in and out, friction, friction. You can drop your hips and loosen your hips and push down and slide back with the tip across the top of the vagina and tantalize her G-spot. You can use short strokes, shallow strokes, punctuated with long, slow, deep strokes. There are so many ways. You can pump her, or you can hold her and move her on you. You can do so many different things just with that level of thinking than just this kind of like, you know, you heard some bed springs once and thought that was what sex was, right? So that's some of my advice for different ways that a guy could start to begin to think about it. And there's one more piece I'll add, and then I'll let you ask me some other questions or what have you. But the nipples and the tongue are directly connected to her clitoral structures. And when you kiss her and you touch her tongue, especially tip to tip, it's like a second clitoris. Her mouth is completely orgasmic. Her throat is orgasmic. She can have orgasms from your penis in her throat. And she can have orgasms from you touching her breast tissue as well as her nipples. And if she doesn't yet do those things, you can co-create those new neural pathways together and activate that system, that connected system, so that when you're pleasuring her breasts and making out with her, it's engorging her clitoris before you even get down there and start touching her vulva. So I think those are some of the things that I like guys to understand about the woman's body.
That I felt like I was in a romantic novel of like anatomy. That was wonderful.
That's kind of what it is, isn't it? A romantic novel of anatomy. I know.
Yeah.
It's nice to have like the directions and the locations and the words for
definitely.
stuff, plus how they like to be touched.
Right. I wish
they
somebody,
like to be touched
like
differently.
made a map of this stuff, especially like verbally. That's what just happened. So.
I have the maps.
Oh, there it
They're
is.
right here. Do you want to see them?
Yeah. Show me the other one.
Okay, so let me show you. Hang on, I got to get the right ones here. All right, so where are your videos housed? Where do you go to find your videos?
Where do you go to find your videos?
Yeah, where is this going to be posted?
Oh, so this will be on YouTube.
Okay, what's your YouTube channel called?
YouTube channel is called Unprofessional, and I'll also have the link in whatever podcast studio or whatever it'll be in, so you can click on it from there. But it'll be on Unprofessional.
Okay. All right, so Unprofessional on YouTube at about, I'm going to say we are how many minutes in right now?
Like 20?
20 minutes in. Or about 20 minutes in. You can fast forward to where you see me holding these pictures up. Mm-hmm. This is the woman's vulva. So here's the mons, here are the outer labia, here's the clitoral hood, the clitoral tip, here's the inner labia. They come down to the fourchette. This opening is the vestibule. And within that, you go from the shaft to the urinary exit called the urethral exit or G-spot. The G-spot is outside here in the vestibule surrounding the urinary exit, plus inside the vagina or introital sphincter, go inside there and push up. And what it looks like is this. It looks like this spongy little pool noodle with glands in it. And the vagina is interesting because it doesn't have glands. The prostate's a gland, which creates the fluid, the seminal fluid, and then your semen is created by the sperm from your testicles mixing with the seminal fluid. The prostate squeezes, it's a muscular gland, and helps you ejaculate as a man. For the female, she ejaculates and urinates out of her urethral exit just like he does. His runs the length of his penis, hers comes out the vestibule. So she has ejaculate and she has urine, just like he does. And these little glands called Skene's glands, they gather the fluid from the blood plasma, it funnels down, and when she has a contraction, it exits out of where her pee comes out. I'll show you what that looks like as I peel back the layers of the vulva. So that's the vulva, but when I take the skin off, this is what's underneath. Here's the clitoral glands or tip of her penis, if you will, her shaft of her penis, same as his, breaking down into the crura or arms, the vestibular bulbs that go underneath the labia, the outer labia. Here's the opening to her vagina. Here's her urethral exit with that spongy, delicious tissue out here, plus the sponge, the noodle, the pool noodle goes back up along her vagina. You can get to it inside and press up right on the inside. And then here's her third erectile tissue system, the perineal sponge, inside and press down. So all of this wants to get all plumped up. And essentially it is the same thing. And now I'm holding up a picture of the male urogenital system. Here's his penis. He has 3 erectile systems as well, 2 corpus cavernosums and a spongiosum. Here's his testicles, his bladder, his prostate, and here's the suspensory ligament that is like the erector ligament that holds up his erection when he gets hard. And this tissue is half in his body and half out his body, all this erectile tissue. Hers is all in her body, but it's the same amount of tissue, pound for pound, inch for inch. That's what's in there that loves to get pleasured in lots of different ways.
Yeah, so it sounds like there are lots of different ways. There's lots of different places you can do things, and we really should be trying to access all of those. It does seem it can be a bit overwhelming at times, learning about all this stuff all at once for some of us. And one thing that has at least helped me, and I imagine it would help other people, is of course think about those types of things, right? Oh, what could I be doing? What could I be doing this and for this moment and this? But another thing that helps is just being in the moment and just being present, you and the woman or whatever. And I find that helps a lot too. And then I find I end up just making the right decisions at those times, even though I didn't think about it at all. So that's something, if you get bogged down with that kind of information, then I think that could help a lot too.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just play with everything. Different days, she's going to want different stimulation in different areas because she's on a moon cycle. So her hormones ebb and flow. And so sometimes she's going to want more pressure, other times less pressure, sometimes more delicate lovemaking, other times more wild and crazy and strong lovemaking. Sometimes she's going to want you to just take control so she can relax. And other times she's going to want to be in control and let you relax. And so really just enjoying the gamut of possibility between partners and listening to your bodies and asking for what feels good in the moment, I think is probably the most important advice.
How important do you think, I mean, obviously it's important, but communication between the man and woman, like verbally, like of course there's going to be, feeling different things out and, oh, they really like that, I'm going to keep doing that. But just straight up verbal, whether it's before or after sex or what have you, how important is that, and how do you go about doing that, I guess I would say?
Yeah. One of the books I wrote is called Dirty Talk, and you can get it at dirtytalkbook.com. It's free. And it's 6 different ways to incorporate essentially sensual talk into your lovemaking. You can talk about what you're looking forward to. You can set scenes. You can share fantasies, whether you act on them or not. You can give appreciation during lovemaking. You can offer encouragement. You can give feedback through moaning and making sounds and letting your lover know things are good. And you can also share favorite frames afterward. Oh God, the sexiest moment of our entire lovemaking date for me was when, oh, how about you? Well, I loved, oh my God, I would have never known that was your favorite part. That's so crazy. Yeah, I thought that was so hot. And so you can learn from all the pre, during, and post information. But a lot of people feel like, especially women, generally, they feel like they don't want to speak up because if they say something to their partner, he will get his feelings hurt and feel like he's doing a bad job, and then he'll kind of get emotionally crushed in the middle of the date and he'll contract, and then it ruins the moment. And so one of the things that I would say to men is, and I have a technique, it's called the Sexual Soulmate Pact, P-A-C-T. You can download that for free and print it out and learn how to do this and encourage your woman to do it with you, which is you get better in bed the more feedback you get from her. So it's how to encourage her to give you feedback and make it safe for her to tell you anything, because you don't take it as criticism, because it's not. How could you know? She's different every single minute of every single day, much more so than you are. And comparatively, you are quite steady state compared to your female partner. And so when you can get her to know that you don't take it personally, you just want to know what pleases her in the moment and tell you anything. And you don't have to say please, you don't have to say thank you. All you just do is tell me what you need, baby, and I adjust. This is what I do. This is why I am here, to give you incredible pleasure. Talk to me, baby. And when she starts, and every time she gives you some feedback and you're like, that was good, keep telling me more. Thank you, sweetheart. You just keep telling me what you need. I love it. And pretty soon she'll stop being worried that you're going to get your feelings hurt, and she'll start talking. And when she starts talking, she means she's really listening to her body, and she's just listening to what her yoni wants. Her yoni's down there going, that's so hard. And she's like, I know, but just suffer, because I don't want to marry this thing. Like, that's not going to make any great sex. So as soon as you can get her to trust you, that all you want to do is give her the incredible pleasure that you're dying for her to have, that's what makes you feel good, then she starts to trust you. And then sex gets on what I like to call the upward pleasure spiral, where it just keeps getting better and better and better. The moaning gets louder. The orgasms become more intense. You try more things. You laugh together. You just have so much fun, because there's a level of comfort in being with you sexually, where she can do anything, say anything. If she farts, you don't even care. It's like, just relax. I mean, a woman really can't have a female ejaculatory orgasm without a fart, because the only way you can do it is to push out. You have to let the fluid express. And she's holding back. She's holding in her stomach. She's holding her body. She's squeezing down to concentrate the intensity so she can have an orgasm. Everything is like stuck, So the more you can open her all the time, the more she will finally relax and let go and breathe and start coming really well for you.
That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it sounds like the more the feedback, the better the sex. The better the sex will feed into a better relationship, and that, I mean, worst case scenario, that relationship doesn't work out. Now you're just very good at sex. I guess leads me to another question: how generalizable, is feedback? So like, let's say this girl's like, oh, I really like this, I like that, I like this at this time, and it's like, okay, great, and it works wonderfully. Is that generalizable to other women? Like, to what extent? Any ideas?
I mean, a little tiny bit. Women really like the gamut. Some women like much more pressure. Other women don't. They like it super light. Some women you can get a really good limbic connection with. You can feel them feeling you. They can feel you feeling them. You can create that energetic circuit. Some women are really good at getting out of their head and into their body. Other women are super uptight. Some women have a ton of body shame. Other women don't. Although generally women have more body shame than men because of estrogen dominance. Estrogen is the worrywart molecule. It's made to keep us safe because we are the prey. And so the more that you can do to help a woman know how beautiful she is to you and exactly why, the more she'll relax all of that. So masculine sexual leadership often looks like creating comfort and trust that anything that she expresses and does is fine, and not contracting around anything, and calling her to more, and encouraging her and appreciating her. Those are magic for her. What he wants from her is to know he's doing an incredible job. He wants to win, and he wants to be respected
100%.
for the work that he is doing. And so for women, what women really need to do is tell their guys everything they did right all the time, like basically a running monologue of how awesome they are.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no,
It's
I
true.
mean, it's a good point. I mean, you're 100% on the dot there. So that's why it makes me laugh. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to get into, the learning about sex, the specifics of it, the anatomy, all the details and everything is wonderful. But one thing I've been hearing about throughout my whole life, and a lot of men have, and women I'm sure too, is, just the implosion of marriages and just long-term monogamous relationships kind of going to the wayside. And I think everyone, or most people, are secretly want that. They kind of want to hold on to that belief, that feeling, that's something that's sustainable. And but it just doesn't seem to have a lot of hope. And especially with the, you hear, my relationship with my wife has been great, for the first year, and then 10 years down the road, now we only have sex this often, and then after that, we don't have sex at all. What hope is there to negate that kind of a thing that we can give these young men and women today?
Well, a lot of the things that I've
Right.
explained already, the importance of giving her enough engorgement and warm up because she's not where you are. Mostly what happens is men say, do you want to have sex? And women are like, no. And then he takes it as rejection. He takes it personally. He thinks she doesn't love him. He doesn't understand that she doesn't have his body and she doesn't live in his horn dog body. So he needs to help her get up onto the arousal ladder, and he needs to hold her hand up a few flights of the arousal ladder until she's stable on that ladder and she can start really coming well for him. Most women haven't had enough engorgement and foreplay to be able to have orgasms from intercourse. And so in a monogamous heterosexual marriage like you're describing, he's basically using her as a masturbatory sock for a decade, and why would she want to keep having sex? If she's not having orgasms, why is she doing it? To be close to him? I mean, she can be close to him by lying in bed and going to sleep. So, and that's what happens. And most women think, oh, I'm just not the kind of woman who can have an orgasm from intercourse. She doesn't understand that the activation of her erectile tissue has never occurred, and she's basically been having sex with a flaccid penis, her version of a flaccid penis through her entire marriage. And when she thinks it's her, he also thinks it's her. And they don't think it's fixable. She's just not the kind of woman who can come. When that's just a complete fallacy and completely just it's just total ignorance. It's a total lack of information, because we can't get this information out to people. And, here I am doing what I can do. And so when a couple not only decides they want to have a great sex life, but they put intention on their sex life, they commit to being honest, they work on it, they try to have different kinds of orgasms and new orgasms, they incorporate sex toys, they do role play, she wears lingerie, he keeps himself sexy for her and she keeps herself sexy for him, when they have sex in different locations, when they do different sex positions, when they learn sex techniques together, when they buy sex courses and take sex workshops. When they do all of those things, they have a good sex life because they are lifelong learners committed to expanding their sexuality. Our sexuality is ageless. I'm 60 years old and I'm having the best sex of my life. And that's because I've done a combination of learning techniques, having good communication skills, having an active interest in my sex life with my little sex life bucket list. And I've also done a lot of regenerative treatments to my genitals and my husband's, because you have to keep the atrophy of aging at bay. I work out every day with my trainer. And I also have O shots, give my husband P shots. He uses a penis pump, a vacuum erection device. He gets Gaines wave treatments. I get Femi wave treatments. We do what it takes to keep everything activated in our whole body. My brain, my muscles, my body, my blood flow. I eat vegetables all the time. I make my own salad dressings. I get good cardio. I do high intensity interval training. I ride my mountain bike. I am out there having a fantastic life because there's no other option for me. This is what I want. I want hot sex till the day I die.
I love that. We're gonna make that the title, "Hot Sex Till the Day You Die."
Boom.
That's awesome. I mean, I think you just pricked up everyone's ears. I mean, having the best sex of your life at 60 years old is like, that sounds astonishing. I mean, that sounds wonderful. So,
and that's the thing, Trev. It should not be astonishing.
Right.
Like, I feel so young. I feel, it's funny. I was just talking to a guy and he's like, well, I'm middle-aged now. And so I'm just wondering, kind of where my sexuality is going. And I said, how old are you? And he said, 35. And I'm like, 35? Oh, you don't even know you're just like a whippersnapper. You're just a youngin'. And I think at 60, I am middle-aged. That's how I feel. I'm not old. I'm not geriatric. My God, I can run circles around 40-year-olds.
Well, I think it's important to have that mindset, right? Because I think without that mindset, you can't fathom having that high sexuality, high libido, like best sex of your life at 60. It's just not possible. You need to have I'm a young buck, or more reasonable. Yeah, I'm middle aged at 60. Like that's how you got to look at it. Otherwise, it's not possible to learn and grow and like, because it's important to understand that this stuff is a skill. Like. And that's why I think only, you say 15% of people actually care about their sexual health, because I think only 15% of people realize that it's a skill that you can fine tune and learn information about and like have greater understanding of. And I think I just wish I could just teleport that idea into people's brains,
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get it to 16% between us.
We'll do our best. All we could do is do our best. Maybe we can move that boulder of non-sexuality 1% further. But yeah, I guess that brings me to another question. So we've already touched on it a little bit. Why do you think sexuality is still shunned to this day? I mean, it comes up, right? But I don't think it comes up in the way that I wish it would. Like it does. There's still this, like, I don't know, I guess shunning of women being free sexually, or not just that, but just talking about sex in a matter-of-fact way, or learning about it amongst each other. And why do you think we still just haven't gotten to that yet? Because we've gotten into things like, I would say, mindfulness and meditation and stuff. I think that's becoming pretty popular culture and just bettering yourself, but we just still haven't hit the mark with sexual knowledge yet. Why do you think that is?
Political deprecation of the female, because we're incredibly powerful and we must be kept down. Religious repression, shame, guilt, fear, which creates trauma and abuse, which exacerbates the problem. Those are why. That's why.
Okay.
Because a horny, hungry woman scares the shit out of guys.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do. Because they're repressed too.
Right. Yeah, I think there's this big cycle of repression for both men and women, but I think maybe the men push it on women a little more. Yeah. Not sure. I'm still figuring that stuff out. Control. But yeah. But which it's funny, because I think if you really boil a lot of the motivations and the things that men do down, so much of it, if we're being totally honest, comes down to what women can you get, or what women can you pleasure, in other societies, or what women show interest in you. And it's like, all right, you can tell yourself all day that you got that, that lawyer job and did all these other things, for your own self-esteem and things like that. And I'm sure you did to some extent, but like, I'm pretty goddamn sure you did it to have women be more impressed by you too. I mean, let's just be honest.
Have women
right?
have sex with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you have enough money, a woman might have sex with you.
Right, and that's their baseline thinking, and it's yeah, and that's another thing I wish I could help one of people's heads is like knowing why you do the things you do. It's like you're doing this job that you hate. You become this doctor and you're in the ED and you're taking care of these people and you're like, you hate your job every day. And I wish you could just go back to why you wanted to do it in the first place. And the sexuality is a big reason why. I'm pretty confident, But yeah, I think we covered a lot of it. So much of the things that I had like a list of questions I wanted to ask you from the beginning, and you hit like 3 of them with one answer that you gave, and then you did that again, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's all my questions.
Well, you sent me your questions ahead, so I thought I'd make sure I answered them.
That's true. And why not make it more concise if we can? That's what we do here on Unprofessional. Susan, it's been wonderful to have you on the podcast. Can you quickly tell us how you mentioned all these great resources along the way. How do we access those? How do we find them?
I don't even remember what I said.
Yeah.
But whatever URLs I said, you can go there and you can get on my mailing list. You can come to my main website, which is personallifemedia.com.
Okay.
You can get my blood flow supplements at Buy Flow Now, FLOW, Buy Flow Now. You can learn how to have give and receive penetration orgasms at betterlover.com, as well as all kinds of other sex tips. It's all free videos. My Instagram account just got shut down, so I can't give you that.
That's so sad. Do you have any idea why that happened? Like what specific post it was or anything?
I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah. That's too bad. That really is too bad. And
here's
here's
the 7
thing.
or 8 years of work.
There's all these. I look for people for this podcast, right? And you have to go through so many bullshitters to find someone that's actually like genuine,
legit.
Not only like passionate and actually cares about what they're doing and isn't just trying to sell some shit, but actually knows what they're talking about. It's like it's so hard, much harder than you think it would be. But yeah, no. So
I'm glad you found me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we found each other. It's something we're all doing together. At the end of the day, we're all in this as a team when it comes to, I mean, not only teaching about sex education and stuff, but in everything in life together. So, oh my god. But we are talking with our hands a lot. Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm all worked up. I'm sweating. But thank you so much.
I have that effect on people.
Thank you, Susan. This was wonderful. Guys, go find her stuff, and you have a wonderful night. God bless. See you.